Coming up, we have stories about changing your last name after divorce. Weddings are not places to make amends. A pregnant wife that eats husband's food. College tuition money. Dumping girlfriend after she blocked my calls, plus update. And dad says being a stay-at-home parent is not hard. Finds out it is hard. And a bounced check revenge. Am I the astronaut? My 39 female ex-husband, 37 male, is insisting I change my last name back to my maiden name because his new fiancé, 24 female, feels it will be awkward for her and I to have the same last name. Am I the astronaut for refusing to change it? I could see this being weird. But if you guys have kids, you absolutely have a reason to want to keep that for your kids, right? I get it. My 39 female ex-husband, 38 male, has been dating this woman for 3 years. For context, she is 24 years old. My ex and I were married for 12 years and have been divorced for 5 years. We have 3 kids together who are now teenagers. My ex and I got divorced because we were young when we met and got married, and we grew apart as people. It was a mutual decision, and we agreed our kids came first and have always co-parented very well. Yes, children involved. This has been the case up until last year when his girlfriend moved in with him. Previously, we would do holidays and kids' birthdays together. Now, when she is present, they won't even sit near me at our kids' sporting events. I've always been nice to this woman, despite my kids expressing they do not like her, and they feel their dad acts differently when she was around. Oh no! Red flags very early here. We don't like this. Dude, just like right off the rip, the new girlfriend is changing the way that the dad is to the kids, to their detriment. Dad, pull your head out of your ass, man. Pull your head out of your ass. There's a lot more story to go, but she's 24, so we can see where this insecurity comes from. It's something that is largely age-induced here, but she's changing the way this dad parents his kids. She's destroying every relationship that he has. Ugh. My ex told me early on she wasn't a fan of me, and felt that I intimidated her. When I asked him for examples of how I intimidated her, he said, it's my face, that I have resting bitch face and it makes her uncomfortable. My ex and her got engaged over Christmas and my kids were less than thrilled, my daughter especially. She feels her dad made a major life decision without even talking to them about it first. Another red flag for you, Dad. I'm liking you less by the second. And yeah, the fiancé is young and insecure and stupid, but you are enabling it. My ex called me yesterday saying he is giving me a heads up that I have a year to change my last name back to my maiden name, as his fiancé is expressing her distaste and concern for her and I to have the same last name when they get married. I told him we agreed in our divorce that I could keep his last name until I felt the need to change it, and that is what is listed in our paperwork. I also told him I don't want to have a different last name than our kids. He said I'm being unreasonable and refusing to see how this would make his fiancé uncomfortable. I told him I can't see it from her side because I'm a grown-up, not an immature child like she is. He told me I could ask anyone about this situation and everyone would agree with her. So am I the astronaut for refusing to change my last name to make her happy? No! Guess what? Dad, ex-hubby, let's add to this title, Brozo. Guess what? Your ex-wife is asking everyone, and no one agrees with your fiancé. No one. Also, you for threatening, saying you have 1 year to change your name. Before what? Before what? It's an illegal document. What are you gonna do? You gonna sue her to change her name? You know what? If she has that big of a problem with it, why don't you change your last name, Dad? And then you can both have a completely different last name, and then she doesn't have to worry about it. Tell you what, that's probably the solution here, because she is now willing to harm the relationship that you have with your kids. She's willing to create an uncomfortable situation between their mother and them. She gives zero shits about anyone other than her. I think you should change your last name, and you should take a cue from Mike from Friends and do Crap Bag. Last name Bag, first name Crap, and she can be Mrs. Bag. You can be crap and she can be shit. Shit bag. This is not okay. He's letting he's letting this, my gut reaction is that he's allowing lust to completely destroy his life. But the fact that she's manipulating him to the point where he is going to bat, she doesn't even have the stones to talk to OP about this in person. She's doing it through other people. She's not even mature enough to be like, hey, can we talk about this? No, she's just saying, you need to give your ex-wife 1 year to change her name. Again, or what? Or what? What are you going to do? Divorce him? Seems like I might be doing the whole world a favor there, except for whoever ends up with her next. No, OP, you are NTA. This is redonkulous. Your ex is a brozo. His new wife is a bizzo. It's a brozo and a bizzo. So they could just be Zoe. That could be their last name, Zoe. And he can be bro and she can be biz. And that would do it. That would do it. Yeah, it is her fault for allowing her insecurities to basically run the show here, but it is also his fault for enabling her. Anybody who gives a single shred of a shit about their kids, about anything in their lives, the fact that he allowed this to happen to their kids is the thing that pisses me off the worst. But anybody who has a single shred of respect, self-respect and respect for their children would look at this situation and be like, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't allow this person in my life. But he completely selfishly, brozoli said, yeah, I will change the entire world to fit around this woman's ego and insecurities. If that doesn't make him an enabler, I don't know what is. I don't know what would. He is enabling all of this by giving her unlimited access to any change that she wants and just saying, I will make it so, Captain. So it's his ego and her ego combined are driving the ship here to the detriment of children. Cool. Yeah, and then it is an empty threat. There's nothing that they can do about it at all. And then nothing bad happened with this relationship until he started seeing her, and everything that is being communicated to OP is a vehicle for her. And again, she doesn't even have the stones to have this conversation herself. She's a fucking coward, just sitting back bitching about everything. And of course, he's enabling because it's causing him pain right now. Even if deep inside of him, he knows that this is not right. He knows this is not the right thing to do for his kids. He's allowing it to happen because it's causing him pain, and he wants his own pain to end. Here is the update to this story. Several of you have asked me for an update on my ex-husband giving me a year to change my last name back to my maiden name because his fiancé was uncomfortable with her and I having the same last name. I tried to link the original post, but it's not allowing me to do so, and I'm not sure the best way to give an update, so I will try this. To clarify, the reason he gave me a year is because they are getting married sometime next year and wanted my name changed prior to their wedding. Or what? Anyway, my ex called me yesterday and said he had done a lot of research on ex-wives keeping the ex-husband's last name after divorce. He stated he didn't realize how common this is, especially when there are children from the marriage. No shit. He also said that this had been my last name for 17 years. My entire adult life has been with this last name, and I have built a career with it. He basically acknowledged that every reason I had to keep it was legitimate. Hold up, time out. So every reason you gave him in the beginning when he's like, I want you to change it, and you're like, no, because this, and this. He's like, now that I think about it, this, and this. And you're like, literally, those are the same things that I told you when you first brought this up. And he's like, no, I just had this idea. I was just thinking about it. He apologized for the way he initially approached me about changing my last name and explained he is in a bad spot trying to make his fiancée happy. He also explained she feels that by me keeping his last name, it must mean I'm still in love with him, and this is my secret way of assuring we end up together someday. I informed this was not, nor will it ever be the case. Yes, I care deeply about him because I was married to him for 12 years and he's the father of my children and I wanted to be happy in life. However, I fell out of love with him many years ago and that will not change. He said he informed his fiancée that he will not bring this up to me again. And if she didn't like it, the ball was in her court to decide if she wanted to continue their relationship. Holy shit! He grew a pair. What happened? Thank you for all the feedback on my original post. I never expected this kind of response and an overwhelming amount of comments and advice. He came around. He finally realized that he was being a dumbass. Good. And this woman saying that, yes, knowing that you guys have kids, knowing that, and knowing that you had agreed to keep that last name for that specific purpose, and because you've built a professional career around that name, all the reasons that you listed, she already knew these things. She didn't care. She's like, oh, you must still be in love with him if you kept it. How insecure can you be? And look at this on just face value alone. Her insecurities harm her character. Her insecurities make her how many times less attractive to him. He knew this shit the whole time. He was just trying to end his own pain because you wouldn't quit bitching about it. And finally, he's like, you know what? I got fed up. And I said, it. If you want out because of this, then get out. About time. Am I the astronaut for telling my mom my wedding is not the time or place to try and trick her daughter as a test? My mom was married to another guy before my dad, and she has a daughter, Elizabeth, 35 female, from that marriage. They divorced when Elizabeth was 2, and she met my dad a year later. My mom's ex-husband was pretty bitter about it, and for years they thought it wasn't impacting Elizabeth, and he wasn't bringing her into his anger about mom moving on. They found out the truth when mom was pregnant with me, 26 male. Elizabeth started saying all kinds of shit about my dad and me, and she told mom she wanted her to lose the baby. Ooh, what the? That's extreme hate. She told my mom that she and her dad would say prayers for my dad and me to die and for her to be a family with them again. She also confessed to lying to the neighbor about stuff my dad said. They apparently knew the neighbor had been weird with him and them for a while, but they had no idea why. She was also lying in school and to her friends' parents about my dad being super strict and mean and not letting her do a bunch of stuff. What the hell's going on with this kid? I know my mom ended up winning full custody by the time I was 1, and her ex was ordered to take parenting classes and therapy. The memories I have of Elizabeth living with us are not pleasant. She always wished me and dad dead, and I remember her wishing other disturbing things on us. She told me she hated me and that I was a up on mom's part. She said my dad was a bed warmer who didn't get that he was supposed to leave. I didn't really know what a lot of stuff meant at the time, but it became clearer with age. She even tore up photos around the house to cut dad and me out. My parents had her in therapy. I remember she used to go a few times a week. It never worked. Then when she was 14 or 15, she went to live with her dad after she got to decide. My mom did everything to try and keep helping Elizabeth, even though she was at her dad's and Elizabeth was supposed to keep going to therapy. Elizabeth told mom she had to choose between her and us, me and dad. Mom told her she wanted all of us in her life, and Elizabeth said she'd rather watch the two of us die. Dad really did a number on this kid, right? Last time I saw Elizabeth was at my high school graduation. Her husband's sister or brother was graduating too. She was still as hateful as ever. I haven't seen her since, but my dad saw her twice, and she was as cruel to him as ever. But my mom hasn't given up that she'll realize what her dad did and that we're not to blame for them not all being a family and that dad and I aren't as bad as her dad made her think. Elizabeth has started talking to our mutual grandparents again, and now my mom and grandparents want to trick Elizabeth into being at my wedding to show her she can be around us. Mom said it would be a test to see if she can be civil, at least, and I said, no way. That my wedding is not the time or place for that, and none of them can come if they insist on trying that. Mom begged me to reconsider so we could have Elizabeth back. I told her I never had her in the first place, and to get her back, I'm not letting her daughter ruin my wedding. Am I the astronaut? Why would somebody be willing to put your entire wedding at risk? Why? Damn it, why? Top comment here, the last 100 times that Elizabeth was near us, she wished us dead. But maybe the 101st time she's near us, she'll be a delight to be around. Mom! Yeah, I understand, the wishes are pure. But this does not pass the reality test. This is Delulu, thinking that she's going to behave at your son's wedding and being willing to put your son's wedding at risk. Now your son feels worthless because it's like you're just throwing him under the bus. What the hell? Even if Elizabeth gradually turns around, she won't make a complete 180 so soon. So she would still be unpleasant to be around for the foreseeable future, especially if she gets tricked. I can't fathom why your mother thinks that tricking her is a good idea. And even if for some reason you would be willing to risk taking abuse from Elizabeth to please your mother, this isn't just your day. Your responsibility that day is towards your wife, not towards your mother. And I can't see how your wife would ever be fine with this. NTA. True. We hadn't talked about the partner yet. Does your partner, OP, know that your mom is talking about risking your day, meaning the both of yours, your day, to just see if this deeply damaged girl will behave one time out of a million? Dad did a number on her. I mean, Dad is the ultimate piece of shit in this story because he would pray with this little girl that you all would die. That's how he taught her how to cope. All of her coping mechanisms were seeded by him, and she has been unwilling to untangle them in therapy. She's been unwilling to change. If someone does not want to change, they will not change, Mom. I get it. She's your kid, and seeing her in this state and seeing it prevent you both from having a relationship with each other is probably one of the greatest pains you could ever feel. You cannot fix this for her. She has to want to fix it. And being willing to put your son and your son's partner's day at risk to see if maybe she'll be tolerable for a day is going to harm your relationship with your other child. At what point were you like, there would be no dramatic effects from this at all? There will be nothing negative happen. How are you gonna silo her from damaging that day, from ruining everything? You think tricking her to show up at a wedding, which, by the way, how the hell are you going to pull that off? You're going to tell her it's a funeral or some shit? Probably, because she wants everybody dead, and she would come dressed up like black tie formal. Oh, yeah, it's a wedding. It's not a funeral. You think she's just going to take that and be like, oh, yes, I'm very happy for you. Every day of my life prior to this day, I have wished you dead. But today, I am glad to see you happy and in love. No, Mom, no. That's Delulu. I'm sorry, but it is. You cannot risk your other child to try to rescue the child that doesn't want to be rescued. Can't do it. Ugh. El Martinez, not sure if Elizabeth is a psychopath or sociopath. Agreed. I thought about that. I think it is she was trained to be this way. Right? Because Dad, she was probably fine until the split up happened, but then Dad made it his life mission to pray with her every night that everybody dies. I'm going to go with sociopath. Beer today, if they move forward with this, I vote road trip with a camera. I said I would never do photography or video for a wedding again. I would make an exception for this. I would make an exception. I would do it pro bono. What you're going to get isn't going to be all lovey and dovey. It's going to be basically me waiting for shit to hit the fan. It's going to be a very different kind of video. I'll use the same kind of music that you expect. Very lovey-dovey singer-songwriter music, but it's going to be like shit hitting the fan. If she got to the point where she was actually harming others, then you maybe could force help upon her. But even then, she still has to want help to actually change, to actually have a valuable life, to actually have a relationship that has any kind of positive value to it. Dad, yeah. OG Dad here is a real piece of shit. So the question was, am I the astronaut for telling my mom my wedding is not the time or place to try and trick her daughter as a test? If we haven't said it yet, NTA, OP, but I fear you're going to need to get more firm with this boundary, because if she's even considering it, that's a big red flag. And you're going to have to be like, yeah, I said no. I need to make sure that you understand that this doesn't just means no. This means no. And if you proceeded to partake in any part of this plan, we would be no contact for the rest of our lives. Do you understand? Unfortunately, you're going to have a conversation where you reinforce this boundary, because the fact that she was willing to use you as bait, to risk your wedding day as collateral damage is worrisome. This is not her day to be able to make any kind of decisions that would put this at risk. It's not her day to make those decisions. If she wants some kind of social experiment to use that, then she needs to go have her own wedding. If she wants the ability to make that decision, she cannot do this. This story comes from the AITA subreddit and is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Getting Pissy When My Wife Ate My Food? Joey doesn't share food. My male 30, wife 29 female is pregnant with our first kid, and I think it's been going pretty smoothly, clearly by the title. She's due in August, and if you're lazy like me and don't want to do the math, that's 5 months pregnant. My wife, as any woman, has her pregnancy cravings, which was ice cream and potato chips. After work, I would just run out to get them. Not out of my way or issue, really. Yesterday after work, I was heading to get takeout from a steakhouse and asked my wife if she wanted anything. She said she was cooking at home and was fine. Nope, this was around 5 p.m. No problem. So I get my food and I'm ready to eat when I get home. Upon first sight, my wife immediately started asking for some, which annoyed me. It was whatever. I gave her a few bites and gave myself a few bites before heading to a shower. I know it's weird to have some food then shower, but I didn't finish it, so it's okay. 10 minutes later, by the time I'm back at the dinner table, the container is basically ravaged. And my wife said, may I add, sheepishly, she ate it because she was hungry, even though I specifically asked if she wanted anything. I was actually kind of annoyed by it and said, you're not funny, before just making something else. After I made my Plan B dinner, my wife came up to me and apologized, but I was still bummed out about this steak and just said whatever. I guess she was upset that I was upset because she gave me a face and walked away. I eventually told her it was no big deal, and I think that made her feel better, but I still feel bad, so I'm asking if I'm the ass. Candy Thunder gave us some notes here to talk about here. Candy Thunder says, NTA, I would be pissed too, especially because you asked if she wanted something for dinner. Candy doesn't share food. She will with me. But as someone who has been pregnant, sometimes you don't know what you want until you smell it. I understand how that sounds, but it's true. Pregnancy really messes with you. I ate so many salads with ranch, and I don't even like ranch, like an absurd amount. Next time, just get her something you know she would like. It's a win-win. If she doesn't end up eating it, take it for lunch the next day. Still a win-win. I get being annoyed that the food that you got for you and you were super excited about got eaten up, but this is your first kid. Let me just say, get used to it. And no, I don't mean that everything you bring home for you is going to get taken away from you. But your wife's pregnant right now. Get used to putting yourself last. I guess that's the point. Yes, you still have to do things for you. Still have to fill up your cup. But it's not even your wife that ate that food. It was your kid. Your kid smelled that food from the belly and was like, is that ribeye? I like me some ribeye. And I do think that a lot of the things that I like, Candy Thunder had cravings for whenever she was pregnant with Navy. Because Navy's down there like, oh, you know what sounds good? Some ranch dressing. Not that I'm a huge ranch fan, but you get the idea. It's like cravings or things that come from the kid. I'm convinced. I don't know. It's probably biologically entirely incorrect, but I think if you, OP, think about this as it was your kid that ate your food, not your wife, you're probably going to be less irksome about it. I would think. And that you should get used to. You should just get used to that. But yes, I do think that yeah, you have to hedge against this a little bit because she's pregnant. You have to be like, I can't be too upset because I get it. And also, like, I'm supposed to be, catering to and making sure that whatever craving pops up, I am helping satisfy there. So it is part of your job to give up your food. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's, as a father, I think that you should be viewing this as it is your job to give up part of your food at a random notice. But I understand being annoyed about it. Now, the question was, am I the astronaut for getting pissy when my wife ate my food? And I think that's probably unavoidable, to be irksome, to be upset in any way, shape, or form. I imagine when you get out of the shower and you think you got half a steak there and it ain't there, this is a feeling. For getting pissy, I mean, depending on how, if you projected this at your wife more than you're leading us on right now, you could easily climb up the ASCON scale. But it sounds like right now you were just annoyed and you're like, it's not funny. All I'm saying is, yeah, this is an NTA, but you got to get used to it. Let's give him the official NTA here if we haven't done it already, but get used to it. And in following Candy Thunder's advice is hella smart, because then you can be hedging against losing your own stuff if you get extra stuff. Now, there's an inevitable situation here where you get something that you know she'll like, and that day she don't like it, but she does like what you have. So you've got to kind of plan for a myriad of circumstances here. So the backup thing that you get should probably be something that you think she'll like, but that you would also like if she decides that she wants your original choice here. You got to start thinking ahead about this, man. You got to start playing chess right now. Or you can just accept the fact that you're going to come last and just do that. Okay, our next story comes from the AITA subreddit and is titled, "Will I be the astronaut if I put a lien against my parents' house and sued them for my college tuition?" Huh? I, 17 female, am graduating high school next month and I'm set to attend my first choice college with a partial scholarship in the fall. It's an in-state school about an hour away, and because of my dual enrollment credits, I should only be 5 semesters from finishing my bachelor's degree and then going for the master's degree I need for the career I want. 5 years ago, my mom's mom, died, leaving behind a college fund for me and my siblings, Kyle, male 25, and Kelsey, female 22. Mom's aunt Teresa was supposed to oversee it, but she died in 2020, and somehow my parents wound up in charge. I don't know all of the details because I was 12 when Mama died and 14 when Aunt Teresa died. I'm not even sure exactly how it was structured or how much there was, except that it was supposed to be enough to cover a significant amount of our expenses, if not everything. Kelsey is a fine arts major, and her first year of college was derailed by lockdowns, and she wound up losing an entire year. She was supposed to go back for her final year next fall, just as I am starting college, but last night at our grandpa's birthday dinner, Dad's dad, she announced that she had been invited to participate in a junior artist in residency study program and was deferring her last year of college. Everyone congratulated her. My grandparents asked about what sort of stipend she was getting. She said there wasn't one, but Mama's money would cover her living expenses. My uncle said that between me starting college and them covering that, the fund would be empty soon. And would her share be enough to pay for her final year after? That's when my dad said that since I had scholarships and my sister needed it more, I wouldn't be getting any of the money Mama left for us. Everyone was shocked and started asking questions, but my parents insisted that it was important to support my sister's artistic goals the way we never were, and that I'd be fine. The way we never were. When my grandparents argued with them, Mom said I could take out loans for what my scholarship didn't cover and live at home to save money. I was in tears, and my sister was upset that people weren't happier for her. When my uncle asked if there was even going to be money left for my sister to go back and graduate, my parents said that they would take out a loan against the house to cover it. Oh, really? Tell me you're the favorite without telling me you're the favorite. Like right in front of everybody. Okay. For this child, we will do everything. We will sell our souls. For this child, she can take care of herself. No imbalance there whatsoever, right? None. Everyone got in a huge argument and my parents and sister left. My grandparents, uncle, and aunt got to talking, and my uncle, who's a lawyer, said he's going to look into it and that we may have to sue them for my share of the college money because he believes they mismanaged it. My grandparents are worried about them mortgaging the house and losing it and suggested we take out a lien against the house for my tuition money so they can't use it to get a loan to pay for my sister's expenses. Will I be the ask on it if I sued my parents for my college tuition and put a lien against their house like my grandparents suggested? There is an update here. Sorry, microphone. When this story started, I'm like a 17-year-old talking about taking out a lien on their parents' house to sue them for college money. Like, get real. But now there's so much more context around it, and now one of the family members being an attorney who says they screwed up and this might be the legal path makes way more sense. Also, why are these parents just big pieces of shit? I understand they were like the third choice for who would be managing this money pile, but they clearly have favorites and aren't shy about broadcasting it. How did they get in charge of a pile of money? They should have been nowhere on the list. Should have been put in a trust or something. Okay, update here. Update. These did on other stuff. Ask on one of the parents. That's where they're heading. I want to see how this shakes out, but right now, I agree. They're in ASCOM 1 territory here. Update, thank you all for the advice. I know you can't just put a lien against the house, but my uncle and grandparents are talking about suing for the money, and since my parents won't have it, putting a lien against the house. Okay, so that would be the result of their case, them winning their case, basically. They would get a lien against the house. They want to move quick before my parents can do any other stupid crap, as my grandpa put it. We all know if my parents spent the money, there's no way they will be able to pay it back. Neither will my sister, and grandma basically told me, but at least they won't be able to lose the house. Right, because the next step they're seeing them do is them mortgaging the house to pay for the other daughter, the one they apparently give a shit about, and then somehow losing that. And then there are no assets at all. My parents inheriting the house from mama was the only way they could afford a home, and they have never been good with money. So growing up, my grandparents covered a lot of their bills so we could have groceries, and that's probably why mama left Aunt Teresa in charge of it. They are worried what will happen to my parents if they do take out a loan on the house because none of us believe they would be able to pay it back. So the house ain't even their house. Yes, they inherited it, but it was mama's house. Now this all makes a lot more sense. And yeah, now the family has a stake and they may not have any actual ownership of it, but now they have a reason to want to protect that home, not just because of the financial value of it, because of it is part of the family. My uncle is going to talk to his law partner about taking the case, but most importantly, I was able to call Kyle, and since he was an adult when Mama died, he actually has a copy of the will somewhere that he says he'll find and send to us. But he knew how much was in the account and where it came from. According to Kyle, there was a $300,000 life insurance policy from when Pop, my maternal grandfather, died, and Mama saved it for us to use for college. He's not sure how it was structured exactly, except he is pissed because his college didn't cost very much, and what wasn't used was supposed to be distributed when we all graduated or turned 25, whichever happened first. So they stole not only from me, but from him too. I knew my sister's school was expensive, it's a private college, but I guess I assumed she was using loans or a scholarship or something. I never really thought about how they were affording her college. I just focused on doing well and getting as many dual enrollment credits as my school would allow so I wouldn't have to spend as much time or money when I graduated and went to college. When he told me, I was in tears because $100K would more than cover my bachelor's degree and probably my master's too. What I want to do, meteorology, really requires a master's or even a doctorate if you want to do any of the really interesting stuff. My parents were mad at me when I went home last night, like I had caused the fight. So I just went to bed and went to work this morning, and I'm just sort of drained, or like I got hit by a truck. My best friend says I didn't do anything wrong and just sort of got sucked into everyone else's drama and scheming, which seems pretty accurate. Even more stupid is that my grandparents told me that because they knew I had a decent amount from Mama, they only saved for my aunt's kids' college funds, so they feel bad too. And Grandpa's birthday dinner got ruined. I got him some cheesecake from my work, and I'm going to take it over to him when they get back from church tonight. I forgot it was Grandpa's birthday. Wow. OP's parents just dropped trout and took a big old shit on Pawpaw's birthday. Not Pawpaw, Grandpa. Different Grandpa. Oh my God. Either way, I got into my first choice college and am going to go, even if I have to sell blood or take out loans. So I've got that going for me, which is nice. I'm trying really hard not to let this affect me too much because I still have final exams coming up. And even though my grades are good, I don't want to let this screw up anything else since some of my scholarships are dependent on my grades. My brother suggested in the meanwhile that I can file paperwork for my FAFSA. I always had trouble with that word, FAFSA. To not have my parents' income counted just on my own, so I might be able to qualify for more aid. So I'm going to talk to my guidance counselor tomorrow about that. That's a damn good idea. Top comment here. This sounds like they horribly mismanaged the money. A fund that was supposed to cover even 50% of 3 college tuitions should have had a healthy 6-figure amount. Not to mention, the fund was supposed to be used for tuition, not other programs. During the discovery, your uncle may find some disturbing truths, but secrets, especially money secrets, are always the worst. Whether you do or don't, your relationship with your parents and sister is likely irreparably damaged. NTA. My impression of this story is completely different than it was now than it was going into it. I went into this by the title and hearing, 17-year-old kid thinking, wow, this is some entitlement. This is going to be rough. It is not that case at all. This is parents completely mismanaging what was left for the kids and creating a huge imbalance. They probably shouldn't be handling this fund in the first place. And that, if there is a will, if there is some kind of legal document that talks about how these funds are supposed to be appropriated, they got themselves in some big shit. And yes, then you can put a lien on the house. If the judge allows that, you can sue for it. And a lien is probably the only option you have because there are no other assets. You're not the asshole for this. And it seems like this is not you feeling entitled to this. This is you just wanting to make sure that you get at least your fair share of what was specifically left behind for you. This is not you asking for anything unreasonable. This is you being perfectly reasonable. I love the fact that there are other family members here who are corralling around you and who are taking action on your behalf, because it doesn't just affect you. It affects everybody. This is going to have a big ripple effect. I would let the family members run point on this and run lead. You're 17. Focus on you. Just one way or another, it's gonna be handled. Focus on you, focus on your grades, focus on your happiness right now. And just know that this is gonna cause a shitstorm that is probably gonna harm your relationship with your family, with your parents and your sister even further, and just be ready for it. Just be ready for it. That's it. Our next story here comes from AITAH and is titled, "Will I be the astronaut for dumping my girlfriend after she ignored my calls and messages and went clubbing while I was undergoing emergency surgery?" I'm going to go with no right now. I, 22 male, and my girlfriend, 22 female, have been together for 5 years. We've been together since high school, and until recently, I've always considered her to be my future wife. I've even bought her a ring and was planning on proposing over the coming months. Well, last weekend, it was my girlfriend's best friend's birthday. She and her friends booked a private lounge at a club. Obviously, I didn't go since 1, I wasn't invited, and 2, I hate clubbing or anything associated with that. I was actually looking forward to spending an evening alone and just binging Netflix or something. Well, my girlfriend left around 9 p.m. and I just crashed on the couch and watched some YouTube. Well, around 11 p.m., I started to feel this distinct stomach pain, the same pain you experience when someone hits you in the nuts. I know that feeling. I got a toddler with very sharp elbows. It wasn't bad at first. I just thought my body was playing some tricks on me. But in the span of about 5 minutes, the pain just kept getting worse until I was basically stuck in the fetal position on the couch. Again, initially, I just thought the pain would go, but then I pulled down my pants and it felt like my right testicle was starting to swell. The moment I tried to get up and grab my phone to inspect whatever the was happening to me, I just collapsed to the floor. That was probably the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Imagine being pelted in the nuts over and over again. I did manage to crawl to the table next to the couch to get my phone. I immediately tried calling my girlfriend, but she declined my call. I then texted her that something was wrong and could she come home immediately. The club she went to is like a 5-minute walk from our apartment. I just put the phone down and started throwing up because of the pain. After throwing up for like a minute, it felt like the pain started to cool down a bit, and I grabbed my phone again, and that's when I saw her response. She just replied with, "What is it?" and then a frowny face. I tried calling her again, but as expected, she just declined again. I then texted her that I need to go to the hospital now. She then asked for what, and I just replied with my balls hurt. I then just dialed for emergency services. I explained my situation to the emergency responder, and she asked if there was somebody that could drive me to the hospital, and I stupidly said yes. I thought my girlfriend would be home soon, and she would drive me to the hospital. I felt embarrassed to call an ambulance because my balls hurt. After I told the emergency responder this, she then told me that she would call me again in 10 minutes to make sure I was being driven to the hospital. Well, thank goodness for that. I then put down the phone and went back to vomiting on our carpet. Again, after the pain went away for a bit, I checked my phone and saw that my girlfriend just responded with laughing emojis. Wow. I again tried to call her, but as expected, she just declined again. She texted me that this wasn't the time to play games, and she then told me that if I texted or called her again, she would block my number. I again tried calling her, but she declined again, and when I tried calling her a second time, I realized she actually blocked me. Oh, shit. I mean, there's more to the story. I gotta throw a red flag here. And also, I do have to say, the way OP is wording this right now, it seems like it could have been a game. Like, I think this is where clear communication is very, very, very important. Obviously, your girlfriend's a bizzo for ignoring you here, but everything you said, like there's an emergency, my balls hurt. You could take that away. That is like, hey, I have blue balls. I need you to come home. Like you could take that a different way. I think some different verbiage might have swayed this, or maybe not. Maybe she's just a terrible, terrible, terrible person. Let's find out. I went back to curling up on the floor, and now I started shivering. At this point, I didn't care about being embarrassed and just called emergency services again and asked for an ambulance. It felt like an eternity, but the ambulance eventually came and rushed me to the hospital. I don't remember much of the surgery since I was sedated, but I remember waking up eventually, and my right testicle was being stitched together. The doctor informed me that I had testicular torsion, and I was extremely lucky to reach the hospital in time. I could have easily been forced to surgically remove my testicle. This is a thing? Wait, hold on. Wait. Your testicles can just randomly explode? I didn't know this was a thing. Just randomly? Katie Thunder says that is not what that means. What? Torsion is twisting. Oh, you can get it twisted? Okay, it twists. But like how? How does it randomly like twist up into a knot? I don't know. And he was just sitting there, watching YouTube. And all of a sudden, what, his balls decided to do aerobics? I don't understand. I checked my phone and saw the missed calls and messages my girlfriend left me. In summary, she came home from clubbing and smelled the vomit on our apartment. When she saw the vomit on our carpet, she got mad and tried searching the apartment to find me. When she realized I wasn't there, only then did it hit her that I was actually being serious. I just texted her in which hospital I was staying and my room number, then went to sleep. I woke up the next morning and saw my girlfriend sleeping on a couch next to my bed. After she woke up, she started bombarding me with apologies. She thought I was joking, that I was trying to ruin their night, etc. I didn't have the energy to argue, so I just kept quiet. I was beyond hurt by what she did, and I wanted to break up with her then and there. Why the would somebody ignore messages when their partner is begging them to come home? Not only that, she stayed in the club till 3 a.m. and didn't even consider coming home to check on me. She did stay with me in the hospital for the remaining 2 days. I was admitted there and did take good care of me, but I was still beyond pissed at her. Ever since coming home yesterday, I've been wanting to dump her, but at the same time, I feel like she genuinely thought I was joking and made a mistake. I feel conflicted and don't know how to proceed in this situation. Will I be the astronaut if I dumped her? Am I overreacting? How would you guys navigate this mess? Edit, just to clarify, no, I never had an issue with her going out in the first place, and I never pulled pranks for her to come home from a night out. I was looking forward to my night in. And by the way, thank you guys so much for the support. I'm beyond blown away. Everyone's support has them all knotted up. It sucks. It sucks. But I think it's a genuine miscommunication here. I don't think this was malicious or evil on her part. I think she genuinely thought he was like, hey, my balls hurt. It's an emergency. Come home. It sucks. Yes, it sucks. I wish you would have taken it more seriously. I also wish you, OP, would have communicated a little bit more clear and been like, hey, this is a medical emergency. Come home. I need you. Maybe somebody from her past used to play games like that. Or something that made her think that you could possibly be doing that. She obviously feels real remorse for it, though. So let's hope this thing turns it around, because we have an update story here. We have an update. Update to previous story. This one is an update to the Will I Be the Astronaut for dumping my girlfriend after she ignored my calls and messages and went clubbing while I was undergoing emergency surgery. Makes it sound much worse than I think it really is. We'll find out. First of all, I just wanted to thank all of you for the amazing support. It's been quite overwhelming, to be honest. I have so many unread messages, so please, guys, give me some time. I promise I'll respond to them all. First of all, I would like to clear up some misconceptions brewing in the comment section of my last post. No, I have never pulled any malicious pranks on my girlfriend to get her to come home from an early night out or anything. Neither do I have an issue with her going out, as long as she doesn't come home at like 6 a.m. And no, I've never blown up her phone like that while she was out with friends. We usually go out together since we share the same friend groups. Here are my and her messages from WhatsApp in order, since people thought I was just texting her my balls hurt or something translated. Me, declined my first 2 calls. Her name, please come home, something is wrong. Her, question mark, can't talk right now, what is it? Frowning emoji. Me, tried calling her again. I need to go to the hospital. Her, question mark, what? Me, again, tried calling twice. My balls hurt. Please come now. Something is wrong. Her, 6 laughing, crying emojis. Me, tried calling again twice after calling emergency services. Her, I swear, don't bother me again or I'm blocking you. Let me enjoy my night out. Oh, yeah. Okay, she climbed up the scale for that one. Me, tried calling her again and got blocked. At this point, the pain was too bad to try anything with her anymore, and I just called an ambulance. Her next message after unblocking me at 2 a.m. Why the is there vomit in the living room, and where the are you? Why is the front door unlocked if you left somewhere? I see like the gears slowly turning in her mind until eventually they click and she's like, oh shit, I don't know. She then went into a full mental breakdown as she realized I was being serious about going to the hospital. Over 70 messages. Yes, it was stupid of me to expect her to drive me to the hospital since she was drinking, but again, in that type of pain, you don't think clearly. I hadn't even thought about that. I think I needed her more for moral support, and I did it out of pure instinct. Not immediately calling an ambulance was also stupid of me. I was in a lot of pain, but stupidly at the time thought that whatever it was would eventually calm down, and driving to the hospital would be better than calling an ambulance. Also, in hindsight, my being embarrassed about calling an ambulance over my balls was definitely also really stupid. I get it, though. The amount of mental gymnastics some of you did in my comments to paint me as some sort of dweeb or emotionally needy person for bothering my girlfriend was truly mind-blowing to me. I promise you, if my girlfriend was in my position and I ignored her, none of you would be defending me. Oh, wow. OP just mic dropped. I promise you, if my girlfriend was in my position and I ignored her, none of you would be defending me. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. We'd be like, wow, what a dick. Shit. Now for the update. Thank you to all who wished me a speedy recovery. I'm doing much better now. Not being able to work for the next 3 weeks is definitely a bummer. I work for my dad's construction company and my job requires lifting a lot of heavy weights. I'm also prohibited from having any sex for the next 2 to 3 weeks as well. I might have also developed some trauma due to the pain. I randomly get the same sensation again and it's driving me nuts. See what I did there? I like this guy. As for me and my girlfriend, it's complicated. As so many of you and my mom told me, 5 years is definitely a long time to just be throwing away without having a proper conversation with her, so I did just that. I told her how hurt I felt by everything. I mentioned the following points. Her ignoring my messages and declining my calls. Yes, clubs are loud, but where I'm from, there are smoking areas you can definitely have a conversation over the phone in. Blocking me after I tried calling her. Her not checking on me once, even though the club she went to is only a 5-minute walk from our apartment. Her being angry about the vomit instead of being concerned. After hearing that, she got defensive and told me that I could have conveyed the situation better and that she genuinely thought I was joking. She was drunk and wasn't thinking clearly. She also told me that it couldn't have been that painful and I was over-exaggerating. She said over-exaggerating. She loses points with me just for that. Also, she became a much bigger asshole now. He'd ride to the hospital and almost lost one of his boys. Don't say it couldn't have been that painful and you're exaggerating. That's not the right answer. Not if you feel real remorse, that's not the right answer. I then told her, yes, I could have phrased my messages better and I apologize for that, but then described the pain I was in and told her that I could barely have the strength to text her, let alone send her a detailed description of what was happening to me, and definitely couldn't think straight through everything. After hearing what I said, she started crying and apologizing for what she did. She told me if she knew how serious I was, we wouldn't have been having this conversation. She then also apologized for her being mad over the vomit. According to her, she was drunk and tired and was just expressing frustration. I then asked her why she thought I was joking and if she was cheating on me because this was seriously out of character for her. Hence why I immediately trusted her with this. Okay, that's important too. She started crying harder and she looked like I just slapped her in the face. She told me that she just thought I was being insecure about her being in the club with a bunch of guys and no, she wasn't cheating on me and would never do something like that. We then hugged for a solid 10 minutes after that. The next part was really hard for me, but I told her I need some space to gather my thoughts and told her she needs to stay with her parents for the time being. She immediately started having a mental breakdown and asked if I was breaking up with her. I told her I wasn't sure and needed time to see if I still trusted her after all of this, as what she did was beyond disrespectful. How could I trust someone with my life after they pulled something like this? I then told her that we are young and this mess was mostly caused by our immaturity. The entire situation was an important life lesson for both of us, regardless of if we stayed together or not. After begging a bit more, she then put her head down and started packing a few essentials. Before leaving, she told me she would be willing to do anything to make up for this and that I could take as much time as I needed. She then gave me a big kiss and left. That was 2 days ago, and this is where we currently stand. I still give her updates on my healing, but besides that, we don't contact each other. I'm really torn right now. I still don't have trust in her, but her owning up to her mistakes shows that she knows she f***ed up and is remorseful. This is definitely something out of the ordinary for her, but there will have to be major boundaries and new rules set. I can think of the following. If she blocks me again for anything, blocking herself from ever seeing me again. Ignoring my messages will not be tolerated anymore. If she goes out alone again, she has to pick up if I call regardless of the situation. As many of you suggested, having an emergency code like hospital or something would probably have to be implemented. I'm not going to abuse any of these boundaries, but I just want peace of mind knowing that my partner has my best interest at heart, even when she is physically not around me, but I don't know. Again, I just want to thank you guys for everything, and this whole experience was definitely an eye-opener for me. Should I get back together with her? If yes, would my demands be reasonable, and could I add something more? Will I be the astronaut if I dumped her over this? Edit, I don't know what happened to the bullet points in my post. Seems to be a weird bug or something. You guys don't care about that part. In my opinion, here, you guys are done. You guys are done, because if getting back together means that you are going to impose a list of rules, it's not going to end well. It's not going to end well, man. Like, she's going to feel like you're trying to control her, especially if you convey it the way that you listed off this list of things that you are going to have as rules. For instance, ignoring my messages will not be tolerated anymore. Probably not the kind of verbiage you want to use with your partner. And I think that's what this comes down to, is this event was an unfortunate. It was unfortunate. It was an unfortunate happenstance. Yes, she was drunk. I keep trying to remember this. She's drunk, so like she's gonna take things less seriously anyway, and she's already in a goofy, fun space. Yes, she's an asshole for not taking him seriously, but I can see how she got to where she got to. He has the right to be pissed off because she didn't take him seriously, because there was no precedent for her to not believe him. He'd never done anything to lead her to believe anything other than him being serious here. But if it is going to create this much, like, you have to conform to these rules in order to move forward, it's not going to end well. And I don't think you are going to let this go. I think this is going to come back, and you're going to resent her for years because of this. It's an unfortunate happenstance. It's an unfortunate situation that I think has destroyed any possibility of you having a healthy relationship moving forward. Unfortunately, it's NTA. I do think, you say, will I be the astronaut if I dumped her over this whole saga? No, but I would ask you to reframe your thinking here and look at this as a marker of an incompatibility instead of someone failing you, because you're going to carry this experience into your next relationship, and you're going to treat your next partner with at least a hint of this flavor. You're going to treat your next partner. There's going to be leftovers that follow you around, and any insecurities that are left from this, you're going to start imposing on your next partner as well. And they're going to be like, what the f***, who hurt you? So this is an incompatibility. This is not somebody who you say that it was incredibly disrespectful. I don't think it was. I think it was an unfortunate miscommunication. And yeah, she sucks for it, and she was an asshole for it. It was not malicious. And you should not hold this against every partner for the rest of your life at this point. This is an incompatibility. Do not let this ruin relationships for you for the rest of your life. This was not a personal attack on you. This was a up situation that was just up. The next one is from the AITA subreddit, and this one is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Letting My Kids Disturb My Husband During an Important Work Meeting After He Said He Would Handle Them for a Day to Prove How Easy My Job Is? I think hubby might have FAFO'd in this one, folks. I'm 31 female, and my husband is 36 male. We have 2 boys, a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. My husband works in an office, and he has the option to work for a few days a week from home, but he prefers not to. He says it's easier to focus in the office. I run a small business from home. I don't have a lot of daily work, just some emails and planning, maybe 3 hours a day, but the business does make about a third of our household income. Nice. But my younger son is home all day, and just dealing with him takes a lot of energy. He's really high energy and will probably wreck something if you leave him alone for an hour. And then the older comes home at 3, and both of them are with me until 8 or 9, which is when my husband usually comes home. A few days ago, I was really tired and I didn't make dinner. When my husband came home, I asked him if we could just order something. He was also tired, and we were both short-tempered, so we ended up snapping at each other. He said I should have at least ordered before he got home, and he was hungry. I said I forgot, and it's not fair that food is always my problem. He said that I'm home all day, and I even admit that I don't have much work to do, so I'm basically a stay-at-home mom and should at least take care of dinner. I'm going to go ahead and throw you some red flags here, sir, because saying somebody's only just a stay-at-home parent. Yeah, you only have the hardest job in the world. How dare you? I said he has no idea how much I do every day. And he said he'll handle the kids for an entire day while also working from home just to prove that it should be easy for me. I said, sure. So he made the arrangements to work from home yesterday. I slept in, and when I woke up, he was already frazzled from getting the older one ready for school. He ended up having to cancel a meeting to make breakfast and was worried about that. Then when he took another meeting later on, the boys went out to play in the yard and got super muddy and left footprints all over the house, which he then had to mop, and I didn't help at all. By this point, I did feel sort of guilty because it was definitely harder for him to take care of work at the same time, but all I wanted was an apology. He said he was doing this to show that I do nothing all day, and if he just admitted that he was wrong, I would have helped out straight away. Later on, he had another meeting, and he told the boys to not bother him for an hour. But about 20 minutes in, they got in an argument about something, and our younger one went into my husband's room to complain. He was really loud, and my husband's video was also on. Then he told the kid to leave him alone, but he was upset and crying and wasn't listening. After a few minutes, my husband went back to the meeting and apologized to other people. When it was finished, he was really angry at me. He said I could see what was happening and just watched him struggle without helping. I said all you had to say was, please help. He said I shouldn't be so petty and prideful. Oh, this guy! This probably made him look a bit stupid in front of his manager, but it was only a few minutes, and I don't think it was the huge deal he made it out to be. Okay, top comment here. I think he needs a few more weeks of working from home to really develop a routine, get into the groove of doing both his contracted job and the housework, childcare, and other domestic management at the same time. Maybe you could find an alternate site to work from and see if you can grow your business if given the opportunity to really focus on it. If a distracted 3 hours a day can provide 1/3 of your household income, you clearly have a great head for business. Imagine how much you could generate with a fully dedicated 8-hour day. Nailed it. Nailed it that time, damn it. Nailed it. I like how he doubled down to say that you were being petty and prideful by not helping him when all he had to do was say please. He didn't even have to apologize to get your help. He just had to say, please help. But he was too petty and prideful to do that, so he chose to make himself look like an ass in front of his manager. He made the choice multiple times by saying he wanted to do this just to prove that you ain't got shit. He wanted to do this to prove that you have pretty much no value and you're a lazy piece of shit. He wanted to do this to prove that being a stay-at-home parent is easy breezy and he could just cruise through this day and check every box and crush it all over the place. And then when shit went sideways, he chose to not engage your help by not asking. When the agreement, he knew what the agreement was. He knew that the agreement was he was going to handle this because it was his challenge. This wasn't even your idea. This was his idea. You're just like, cool, bet. You didn't jump in to rescue him because he didn't wave the white flag. And then for him to call you petty and prideful, that's where he climbed up all the way to here. It wasn't the fact that he failed. It wasn't the fact that he sank. It wasn't even the fact that he thought it was an easy job to begin with. I can see where all those things would happen. It was when he doubled down and called you petty and prideful for not jumping in and saving his ass when he was drowning, even though he didn't put his hand up so you could save his ass. That's when he became an ask on one for me. Being a stay-at-home parent is got to be the hardest job on the planet. It has to be, especially with 2 kids. Especially, I can't imagine having 2 rambunctious, high-energy boys that will destroy anything. Also, when is give me an hour, leave me alone? How old are these kids again? 5 and 7. I think 5 and 7 is probably a little too young to be like, give me an hour with no supervision and expect them to not wreck anything. Like already, dude, your crush in it is just choosing to not do it. I think he's an asshole. So the question was, am I the astronaut for letting my kids disturb my husband during an important work meeting? After he said he would handle them for a day to prove how easy my job is? Hell nah. No. He let them. He let this happen. He made the choice for it to happen. He didn't even let it. He willed it. He decided this for you. I do love the idea brought up by that commenter, though, to be like, okay, now he sees how hard it is, but also you're able to kick some ass with a third of your income with while watching a kid and doing it with just 3 hours a day. You guys could really be growing and finding a balance here if you devoted some more time to that, and maybe he can devote some less time to this, or figure out a system where he can work from home. It depends on what you define as success. If I were in your position and I had the opportunity to define success as freedom, time, I'd lean into it. If there was a structure for your family that could be a 4 to 5 hour day where only one of you works and you guys are making just as much money as you did before, so you have more time together, more time with your kids, more time to enjoy life, there's a good conversation to be had here. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with another story from Reddit. This one is titled, "A customer bounced a $400 check to my small business and then told me to suck his D when I called him about it. I can't afford small claims. Please offer advice. I'm desperate." Holy shit. Originally posted July 25th, 2023. As the title says, a real jerk came into my flower store. He very rudely ordered 12 custom flower bowls to be made for him. I made him his order and he picked it up. At the time of pickup, he was very hesitant to write me the check. He wanted to order more and then come back with one big check. I said, "No. Check now, please." He signed his name and tossed it to me. I had to write in the dollar amount. Wow, what a dick. Well, I'm going to red flag this guy right now because if somebody comes in and this guy was an asshole from the very, very beginning because he had to pay for it then, write a check then. He just signed his name and threw it at you? Okay, get out of my fucking store. I'll take the flowers back. Get the out. We choose not to do business with dick bags. Now the check is bouncing. Shocker. I have been by his bank every day for 2 weeks to attempt to cashier a check, but he does not have the funds in the account. I think he uses this checkbook for this exact reason. The check was number 003 from the book. Does anyone have any advice? I'm crying myself to sleep thinking about this. I can't afford an open court case. My current ideas are putting his name writes bag checks on my road sign next to a major road in town, calling his employer, anything else that is legal. I'm about to drive to the neighborhood and look for my flowers. Please help me get this, man. I just want to grow my flowers. Updates. The police just left the greenhouse. They collected the paperwork I have for the whole mess. When the officer looked at the name of the guy, he said, "Oh no, please don't drop the charges on this one. I want to see it go through." Yeah. And then he sat in his squad car for a few minutes and made a bunch of phone calls. That's a good sign, maybe. Relevant comments here. Comment, small claims court is usually not more than $50 to open a complaint. You'll win, but you'll also learn one is much different than collected. You may not be able to collect anything. File a report with the police and at the bank. Learn to not accept a check from a new account, accept credit cards, or preferably cash. Don't start stalking someone. You don't know this guy's name for certain. Even if you read it off his driver's license, it could be faked. OP, that's good to know. File a report with the police and with his bank. Got it. I'll be doing that when they open. I don't know how to file with small claims, but this is a good opportunity for a crash course. I'm upset about the money, but at this point, I'm just so mad that a grown, successful man can walk around with his chest out, all while stomping on me, a young girl who is barely starting up. He drives a dozen different SUVs, and because of him, I'm working every shift this week, unable to pay my employee. Comment, he's an abuser with an ego, and he is not doing as well as you are, but make sure that fact is hidden under his brashness and chest-outedness. Let us help you a little. If you're willing to give out your shop name, perhaps some of us can buy a few flowers and leave a tip. In the meantime, report. Make sure to have a shame list with the names of past customers who have screwed you, even if they end up paying. Actions have consequences. First time, shame on you. Second time, shame on me. So remind yourself and your employees that man should never get farther than showing his ID before he is run off. Also, never accept checks. Tons of other ways to pay nowadays. Even businesses will find a way. For example, my business can do a bank-to-bank transfer, PayPal, credit card, and we do business checks but prefer the other three. Original OP, oh my gosh, thank you for being understanding. These comments have me feeling extra stupid for learning this lesson. And thank you for the offer on spreading my business. My greenhouse is attached to my home and my retail gazebo is in my front field. I think I'm done learning hard lessons today, so I'm not going to post my home address on Reddit, but thank you again. Update July 27th, 2023. Update on the guy who wrote me a bad check. He has paid in full. Thank you, everyone who encouraged me to fight for my money. I filed a police report. The cop came out to my store, and when I handed him the information I had on the guy, he chuckled and said, "Oh, this guy, if you want to open a report, that's fine, and he deserves it, but he always comes running when we call him." And sure enough, he showed up an hour after the police had left him a message. He said I had no right involving the police, and it was so far out of line that I need to appease him somehow with a discount on more flowers. Whoa, wow. He then demanded I call the officer while he was there so he could see me drop the report. I told him our business is done and stood my ground. It was great. He left, and it honestly felt like it was the first time he hadn't gotten his way in a long time. Hell yeah. Final comment. That's awesome. Now put his picture at the register and a sign that says refuse service, bad checks, theft. Face it where everyone can see it at the register. Include his name and it won't be illegal. P.S. I hope your business grows as big as you want it. You deserve it. OP, I told the cop I'd be planning to put David, what's his name, writes bad checks on my street sign. The cop laughed and said even after David pays, I should still put that on my sign because it's still true. Made me feel good. Hell yeah, that's great. The fact that the police called him, told him he was in the wrong and had to pay for this thing, or else he shows up and berates OP and is like, you need to somehow make this up to me with like a discount on more flowers, like she would do business with this jabroni ever again. This brozo, like she would allow him to disgrace her store and her product and her passion a second time. Nah. Also, he ordered like 12 big things of flowers. So what, he pissed off all 12 of his girlfriends at the same time, or do all of his anniversaries line up together? This guy's a real freaking piece of work. And I know you guys hear this story and you're like, I can see this guy. Or you might know this guy, like a version of this guy in your town, in your area, in your whatever. It's like you can automatically picture this guy. No, it's a legit Gaston. This is a legit Gaston. That sucks, but so happy for OP here. Big round of applause for OP. Finally learning that as a business, you can have boundaries and you can enforce those boundaries. And sometimes, yes, you're going to get screwed, but there are protections in place to make sure that it's harder to screw you, at least. And when shitty people have to actually make right, it is one of the sweetest things you will ever experience. And I'm so glad that happened to you so early on in your business. I think business people, when you go into business for yourself, you're going to get burned. You have to walk through some fires and learn some lessons the hard way. It just happens. I am so glad that you experienced this early on, because now you're going to have so much more structure, understanding, and you're going to gain so much more respect because of that structure and understanding that you're going to have from this experience. It is going to be easier for you to be successful later on because of what you just learned. And luckily, it was learned in a setting where you actually got paid in full. Most people get burned that one time, they get screwed that one time, they don't get paid in full that one time, and they develop protection measures to make sure it never happens again. You could still need to put all those protections in place, but you never had to feel the full pain of not getting paid in full. So freaking, you reverse Uno'd that. Freaking sure. That was awesome. Hey, Dusty Thunder here, and I wanted to thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that content, and if you did, please make sure to like, subscribe, and most importantly, share. Also, you can find swag and so much more at dusty-thunder.com, and you'll find even more content on all of our platforms. We're on TikTok, YouTube. We now have an official Facebook page that we'll be posting stories to as well. We have podcasts on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and so much more. You can see all of our content platforms on Linktree, which is linked in my bio. Engage with us wherever you're enjoying content and do your best to avoid the Askonauts today. Thanks again.